Welcome back to Texas Cooking. Today we're going to go over a recipe about how to make Pico De Gallo. We're going to do this with a group of ingredients here. We have lime juice, a little bit of salt, cilantro. These are jalapenos, some nice tomatoes. Look at those beautiful plum tomatoes. And these little green onions. Now you can use a yellow onion, white onion, red onion, whatever you want. I like to use these because they have a good sharp flavor and they combine well with these other ingredients. So, next we're going to get into how to prepare your Pico De Gallo. Okay, now let's make our Pico De Gallo. I'm going to get busy cutting up all of this stuff, but I'm going to need a bowl to put everything in. Now, what I'm going to use is a good stainless bowl, large enough for me to get both hands in to mix what I put inside of this. Alright, now you could mix it with a spoon if you want, but frankly, some things just work better by hand. Now, whenever you're handling peppers that are hot like this, do yourself a favor and put on some gloves, okay? Go ahead and get some gloves on. So when you're handling this and you're finished, you can take these gloves off and you don't have hot capsaicin on your hands. Because trust me, hours later you can rub the corner of your eye and suddenly your face is burning, all because you still had capsaicin on your hands from when you were cooking. Alright? Now, these little guys right here, we're going to get into in just a moment. What I want to start with are these onions. Let's get those out of our way. Roll back a bit. Now, first thing I want to do on these onions is to remove that little tip right there where our roots are. Just don't necessarily need that in this Pico De Gallo, and I don't think it would enhance the appearance of it, not in the least. Let's get that out of the way. There we go. Let's line those. Now, just take our knife and very gently make some cross cuts. And I want to make these rather thin on the white portion, okay? Because that white portion's got a pretty strong side to it. If those are too thick, also they'll be too large of a chunk. So you want them to be kind of thin. Now, as we get up into the stalk more, that becomes less of a ring and more of just a hollow tube. And that will happen just as you get into the dark green portion. Now, I'm going to use some of that dark green portion. You'll notice I'm making my cuts just slightly longer now. Or about 1/4 of an inch. That green is really potent in onion flavor. Okay? It's going to be way more onion than I'm going to need for this, okay? These I can save to put in a stock or something else. Now, let's take that onion. Go. And a little bit of this I'm going to put in a bowl on the side because I'm going to use it later in a different recipe. Go. Now, another nice thing about wearing these blue gloves, it makes cleanup real easy. When it's time to finish up your recipe and you need to clean your hands, all you do is pull the gloves off and you're immediately right on to the next recipe. So, let's take these jalapenos and work them now. If you notice, I switched knives. And I did that because I'm going to need a knife to get down inside of there to remove that little stem. It'll be easier once I half it. Go. There you are. Nice. Now, to get the seeds out of the inside of this and this little connective tissue that they have, that is important to remove that. Make sure your knife is good and sharp, and then you can simply flick the rest of the seeds off with your knife. If you wish to give them a gentle wrench, you can do that. Some people believe you're just washing out flavor. There you go. Now, if you notice some of that remained, I'm going to remove it. I want to do that to each of these, get them processed as quickly as I can. Now, the seeds and this inside tissue here contain the majority of the heat in this little pepper. Okay? So if you remove that, you're removing a lot of that heat. You can leave it in if you want. I don't think it looks very pretty in a Pico de Gallo though. I think the seats are very unsightly. Now, rest that off the cutting board. Now, once I get those processed like so, switch back to my other knife. I want to cut these lengthwise. So what I'm going to do is push it down, like so, and just make cuts. And these cuts are going to be about 3/16 of an inch wide. I know that's kind of specific, but yeah, it's right in between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4. And I'll do that because I want those pieces to not be as big as the chunks of tomato. The tomato is going to be blending with this flavor, so you want the mouth bites to be just the right size. There we go. Now we got our 3 jalapenos cut. We're going to make cross cuts, and we want those cross cuts to be about the same as the width of each of these pieces. And what that's going to give me is just a nice square little cut. And it looks really good. One thing's for sure, your Pico de Gallo will show off your culinary skills real quick. Whether you can cut even and straight, your guest will see that right off. Okay, there. Now again, I want to take a little bit of that, and I want to save it back with those onions. That was about 2.5 large jalapenos. One thing's for sure, if you don't have an equal amount of items, as far as proportionally, then this is going to taste out of balance. And equal doesn't necessarily mean the same amount. We're talking equal in flavor, not necessarily equal by proportion. Now, when you're preparing your plum tomatoes, you open these up. Inside, there are these seeds. You can take these and push them out, just like so. And I like to do this under running water. And then this centerpiece can either be pinched and pulled, like so, or it can be cut out. And then I use the rest of that, just the good solid meat without any of the seeds, to produce my Pico de Gallo. That way I'll have no seeds or anything in there that doesn't look quite nice. So to make this a little cleaner and faster, I'm doing the rest of these underwater. Sometimes they give you trouble. Get a knife and cut it loose. Same thing on our tomatoes. These are going to be about 1/4 inch cuts, just slightly wider, because we want that tomato to be just a nice showy red piece right in the middle of it. go. Next, we'll put in some of this cilantro. I don't need these stalks down below here, so I'm just going to pull those off and use only my upper green. And I want to take that and I want to rough chop it. I don't need this to be fine chopped. I don't want to bruise the leaves, and I don't need too much stalk in there either. Just that leaf portion. See that? There we go. Now, I want to put a little salt in this. There we go. And this is about 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and up to, for this one, about 1/4 cup of lime juice. Now, once I get that together, I simply want to mix these ingredients. Quick and easy. There we go. Now, I have a beautiful fresh Pico De Gallo. That's ready to be put in a bowl and served just like this. I do want to let it marinate for about 30 to 45 minutes at least before serving.